Hello, I'm Noodle, and in today's lore and history episode of the X Universe, I'll be talking a little bit about the Great Trade War, the Kha'ak, the Yaki, a species known as the Wendra, a tiny bit about the Kha'ak conflict, along with the end of the community of planets and the Second Terraformer War. There's quite a range of things this time round, but that's only because this is going to be the last episode in the series. So without any further ado, I'll get started. 2923. In 2923, the Wendra, a highly intelligent species, were discovered during a scientific expedition by the Boron to chart an uninhabited water planet on the edge of the sector Queen Space. The Wendra are highly intelligent, but have neither advanced technology nor the capability for space travel, which explains their belated discovery. The Boron Ministry of Advanced Ethics decided to offer the Wendra access to advanced technology and knowledge, should they desire it, and the Wendra accepted. Before I go on, I'll go into some detail about what the Wendra are. The Wendra are an aquatic life form whose homeworld is somewhere within the community of planets. Its exact location, however, is known only by the Boron. Growing up to 50 meters long and massing up to 300 tons, the Wendra are marine mammals similar to the well-known whales of Earth. They live in large herds and have no natural predators. Despite their high intelligence, the Wendra are incapable of fine-scale interaction with their environment, as they don't have any hands or fingers. A notable feature of this species is the signal, a bioluminescent area of the head, which can be made to flash rapidly for the purpose of communication. There is no reliable population information due to the non-technical nature of the Wendra, but their large body size leads Boron experts to estimate a population of 200,000 at the most. 2928. The Yaki, who I briefly mentioned in the last episode, begin disrupting trade lanes in 2928, so a joint Taladi and split fleet is sent to destroy them. However, they themselves are destroyed by the Yaki. Now, I couldn't really find much information on the Yaki pirates themselves apart from how they were formed, which I also mentioned in the last episode. All I could really find is that the Yaki pirates are a real force to be reckoned with within the X universe. Their activities have all the hallmarks of the deliberate creation of chaos and confusion in order to undermine law and order throughout the universe, and they are known for their frequent attacks on isolated traders because they are easy targets, especially the ones without fighter escorts. That's about it on the Yaki themselves, so I'll get back to 2928. Brett, who has come through an early life in the Argon Navy, is witness to an attack on Yaki sympathizers on the mines on Bavu as he actually pilots one of the attack ships. The captain of the attacking Argon frigate XL makes some bad tactical decisions which leads to the attack on the Yaki sympathizers to go completely wrong. The Argon attackers barely escape. This leads the Argon, Boron and Paranid to refuse to help the Split and Taladi initially. But then the Yaki launches attacks on Argon Deep Space Echo stations, which forces the Argon to mobilize its fleet and declare war on the Yaki themselves. This becomes known as the Great Trade War. The Yaki and Argon fleets meet in Sector Echo 3, and the large battle is won by the Argon Navy, but only just, as there seem to be a lot of bad mistakes and decisions happening during the conflict, such as Brett unknowingly destroying a transport ship with 300 innocents on board, and the captain of the Argon 4, a large carrier, unknowingly crashing his ship into a frigate during the battle, which completely destroyed both ships. Also, a Yaki battleship disappeared during the battle by using some sort of advanced cloaking technology. It eventually becomes apparent that Brett, along with many other Navy personnel, have had the Super Slave installed, as is standard procedure for Navy personnel, and that the Yaki used these during the war to send false data to the hosts, which explains the XL incident, Argon 4's collision with a frigate, and Brett's destruction of a transport ship. After all this, Brent is sent to Paranid space to begin training in the use of the Super Slave. The Paranid call these Argons with Super Slaves Kotu, which means the gifted ones. The Kotu are spread out into the cosmos, keep a low profile, and are under the direct command of the Argon Admiral Stacy. Brett becomes a trader. Also, during this time, Meton and Mitch, who I mentioned at the end of the last episode, present their initial findings on the positive and negative matter patterns that are emitted from the jump gates to the Argon-Boron governments. They think they are tracking the matter levels from the past use of the gates, and they announce that they expect the gates to be realigned soon. They also mention Earth and that they may be able to map where it is. This results in them receiving extra funding to return to space and carry on with their research. 2930. In 2930, Mukai takes what is left of her Yaki fleet, including her cloaked Yaki battleship, and heads for Echo 72 to obtain the gate alignment data from Meton and Mitch. She has to make the final sector journey by conventional means to avoid detection, so this journey takes her 2 years. At about the same time, Brett meets Spirit, an Argon female. They become lovers and set up a small trading empire. 2932. 2 years later in 2932, the Yaki attack on Echo 72 is discovered and the Kotu are sent to intervene. But before the Kotu had a chance to arrive, the Yaki had already attacked, and the sector, the station, Meton and Mitch are taken prisoner after a brief battle. The Kotu, with the help of the frigate XL, retake the sector and Brett and Spirit decloak the Yaki battleship using their super slaves and attempt to find Mitch and Meton. Mitch is found dead, killed by Mukai, and Meton is found close to death. Brett believes he has killed Mukai, but then suddenly, the battleship unexpectedly jumps, along with the gate alignment data, Meton and Brett himself. Brett comes around in a strange place with strange creatures. They are in a Kha'ak sector. So let's talk a little bit about the Kha'ak. The Kha'ak is a hive race in which the individual only exists to serve the hive. A Kha'ak will sacrifice himself to that end without question. Their goal appears to be the destruction of the universe, and they employ a cluster configuration in which interceptors, scouts, and fighters group together and break apart at will in order to better engage the enemy. Despite their increasing presence in the universe, there is still very little known about them. Their origin, how many of them there are, and what their true intentions are is still all but unknown, although there are rumours linking them with Nividium. Kha'ak ships behave like a flock of birds that can suddenly change direction all at once. Their fighters emulate this behaviour when they chase a patrol ship. Once their target is destroyed, they will all turn as one and take on their next victim. The Kha'ak turn everyone and everything they encounter into space debris. They take no prisoners. 2934. In 2934, the Kha'ak invade the X-Universe and raise the Argon Sector President's End, and the Battle of Omicron Lyri begins. 2935. Just 1 year later, in 2935, the Kha'ak invasion is defeated with the aid of the rediscovered Terrans, although the Kha'ak do continue to launch smaller attacks. Also, the Earth government is offered membership into the Argon Federation, which they decline. 2938. In 2938, the Terrans are reunited with their lost colony of Aldrin. They also reclaim several adjoining sectors which they had previously lost to the Terraformers. Within the same year, the Argon spearhead an invasion into Kha'ak space. They are successful with their invasion, and the Kha'ak are banished from the X-Universe forever. At about the same time, the hub, which I couldn't find any information on, is discovered by Julian Brennan and Bala G. It is used by the Terrans to connect the gate network Aldrin is part of to the first Terran jump gate to be built in centuries, which orbits Neptune. 2942 to 2944. In 2942, Earth was attempting to exert its influence over the Argon Federation, despite their refusal to join the community of planets. And by 2944, matters would take an even greater step for the worse when the GEOS, which I believe is an observation team of some sort for Earth, ordered a USC fleet to the edge of the Argon territory. Conflict became inevitable, and there was no way that the Argon fleets could defeat the forces of the USC in a direct confrontation. So instead, they drew on terraformer technology developed in secret by the Beryl. The Beryl are a sophisticated criminal syndicate that deals in illegal technology such as xenon components. New CPU ships and assembler drones would be built, along with new jump gates to maintain lines of supply. Also, in preparation for the assault, two people named Saya Ko and Sherman Hiatu would serve as undercover operatives in the Sol system, while the split Neham Tugulk took over control of the operation. 2946. The Second Terraformer War began in 2946 when a fleet of terraformer ships and drones arrived in the Terran Sol system under Beryl control and began a systematic attack on the inner planets Venus, Mars and Earth. Earth's entire fleet was in other systems and could not be recalled quickly enough, so Earth was defenseless. 2947. all the jump gates across the community of planets failed as one in 2947, and nobody knew why. Even the jump gates built on Earth failed to reach their peers. In-system jumps remained possible, but interstellar connections could no longer be created. So at a single stroke, centuries of alliance were swept away together with the former planetary federations. Interstellar trade and cultural exchange were ended, and once again, each world was confined to its star system as a sullen silence fell across the galaxy. The community of planets was dead. 2948. In 2948, the Taurus Eternal, Earth's last line of defense, was destroyed, leaving the blue planet utterly without hope and at the mercy of a rampaging swarm of Terraformer assembler drones. The 10 billion strong fleet of drones and CPU ships was destroyed only through the combined efforts of Dr. J. Niren, Prior Admiral Tebathimankat, and Lieutenant Colonel Eleanor Lindisfarne Coe, who would sacrifice her life to save the planet she still called home. 2971. In 2971, after the effective end of the community of planets, messenger drones from Paranid Prime arrived at Argon Prime, the Boron homeworld, and Nishala. The mathematically gifted Paranid had somehow managed to determine the physical locations of the other races' homeworlds. Even though the jump gates remained inoperative, the near-luminal velocity of messenger drones would at least allow some form of communication between the races. So the Alliance of Words was born. Right, so that's the end of the X-Universe History and Lore videos series, or at least so far, until something else comes out, if something else comes out. So this was where the lore and history basically finished off, and there hasn't really been anything since. I do know that in the X Rebirth game that there wasn't really any lore that connected with the X universe, so I know that game got left out. It was just something completely different. And in X4 Foundations, I believe the gate networks got turned back on and reconfigured, but that's about it. There isn't really any lore apart from that. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this series. I loved watching the videos that Twinkie made, and I really enjoyed making the rest of the videos. I've learned much more about the X universe than I ever thought I would, and I hope it's done the same for you. So as usual, if you all enjoyed, then please do hit that like button, join my Discord if you want to chat with me, share this video with people who you believe will be interested in the lore of the X series, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.